What is unique about being a black man? Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Unboxed. I'm your host David, and today we are talking about the issue of black masculinity. Specifically, what is it, how do we define it, and other issues related to that. But before we get into it, I want to introduce my awesome panelists here today.
Travis.
Garnett.
Jay.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Tunji.
Idris.
Amy.
And I already said I'm David. So I have a few questions here related to the topic, but I want to make it as open as possible. So feel free to jump in whenever you want. First question, just right off the bat, I wanted to ask you guys, and feel free to jump in anytime. What does healthy masculinity look like to you? Like, what does it mean to you? Another way I can word it is, what does it mean to be a good man?
I think it's just like somebody who's just a guy who's just constantly working on evolving himself in every single way, whether it's personally, professionally, whether or not he's in relationships, stuff like that. Just like a man who's just always looking to improve upon himself and making sure that his feeling of masculinity isn't dependent on him being above, or it doesn't depend on being dominant over anything, whether that's women, whether that's being the dominant one in your career. Basically just constant self-development is how I view it, just off the top of my head. But
I would say just kind of piggyback off of that, it's also kind of just not only evolving with yourself, but liberating the people around you to do the same. You know what I mean? And just always finding this kind of mutual respect between whoever is around you, no matter who it is, whether you know them well enough or whether you don't. It's you kind of just gotta approach people. Don't always feel like you're above nobody. Just approach people as if you're all on the same level and just kind of proceed from there on out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, before I'll let you guys get in, but I was also thinking those are really great definitions. I was also thinking as well, if you can think of certain words that people associate with being a good man. So whether it's honor, or loyalty, people say black men don't cheat, but I'm
a faithful black man.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? But yeah, if you can add in certain words that you just associate with being a good man, or being someone who practices healthy masculinity.
I would say strength, but not strength in the sense that, or in the way that people often describe with masculinity, the strong, silent type, not able to open up. I would say a sign of a good man is someone who is in touch with their emotions. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to cry or whatever, but you can feel an emotion and you can understand it and react to it and deal with it, rather than just suppressing it and then exploding later. I think that's probably something that a lot of men lack, actually.
but the thing about it though is just all of us that's ideally I think the three of us just kind of said what an ideal guy is, but I feel all of us in one way or another just sort of struggle with the toxic stuff that's out there, whether it's either you're supposed to be a provider in the relationship, or if you're supposed to be strong but in sort of a negative way, ready to fight at any time or something like that, you know what I mean? I didn't realize how much of that stuff was in me until I got into the relationship with my girl, and all this stuff that I thought I had dealt with was just all this insecurity comes up because of one situation or another. It's crazy how this stuff that we grow up with and we know rationally in our head isn't right, still kind of shows up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Any other initial thoughts?
And I actually like that point.
Right.
The strength, strength is always described in different ways. You gotta be strong, you gotta be, you can't show emotions. But I think strength can be defined as actually showing emotions. You know, that's you being able to handle your inner demons, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? If you can, let's say if you're in any situation, you are not scared of being vulnerable with another person. You know, that puts you in a position of being a good man. Because let's say if you have a kid somewhere down the line, you want to be able to install that kind of mindset into them, right? Saying, well, it's okay to be vulnerable. Being in our society nowadays, you get that understanding that, oh, when you're vulnerable as a man, that makes you weak. Excuse my language, that makes you gay, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that term really bothers the crap out of me just because of what does that even mean?
Right.
You know, what's that definition? And a lot of men, they misunderstand what strength really is. So when they hear those phrases like, oh, you're gay, you're soft, you're weak, and, you know, they try to hide it in, right? You know, soft is a big one, right? So I think true strength, or as for men, you know, what strength is literally what you just said. Being able to deal with your emotions and not being afraid to deal with that in an open spectrum, right?
Sure.
That's a very good point. To be
I
honest.
also think it comes down to like just being comfortable in who you are, but at the same time not necessarily settling and going back to what Tunji said, like continually trying to improve yourself, but still being confident and comfortable in the person that you are today.
When you were a child, for example, and did you have a moment where, you know, you had a parent or you had maybe a relative or even some sort of figure, senior figure or someone who you looked up to, maybe even a friend, like a male friend of yours who pointed out something to you and be like, no, that's not what a man does, or this is what a man should do?
I'm from a very big family, right? I have 4 sisters, and my sisters have like friends, female friends, right? So most cases I'll go hang out with them, you know, kick it with them, or something like that, right? But then, you know, I never really hanged out with the guys when I was a kid. So then my parents would be like, well, why are you hanging with the girls? You know, go hang out with, go play soccer, go do this. I play soccer, but most times, you know, just hanging around, just running around and doing one of those those feminine stuff with girls, it's kind of cool for me, right? But then when you hear often that, no, you shouldn't be hanging out with the girls, go play soccer, go play football, go throw a ball, but that's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, to a point, you're not really living your own life as you want to live it. Someone is nudging you into a different direction, and that you get this concept of this understanding that, oh well, maybe this is what a man should be doing, not what you were doing, but there was nothing wrong with what you were doing.
Yeah.
But then you grow up, because as kids we just learn as we go. We don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
So whatever the older people tell us, or our parents tell us, that's what we follow, that's what we kind of, till we become our own people eventually, right? But then growing up as a kid, hearing that constantly, right? You start thinking, or maybe envisioning that into reality. So then maybe when you turn into an adult, that becomes reality for you, right?
Yeah.
So instead of you have this monkey in your back that maybe in any setting when there's women, or you don't know how to talk to women eventually because of you've been taken away from that, you know, from that setup or surrounding. So for me, that was something that I had to find a middle ground for, right? You know, I moved out when I was 17. So then I started, fortunately for me, I ended up in situations where I had to face different challenges and learn from them and become my own man eventually. And a lot of people don't have that luck, right? So for me, growing up and ending up in different situations, I started figuring out that, well, there was nothing wrong with that. That was actually okay. Like I could just have all female friends and do what they like doing, and there was nothing wrong with that, right? And that's something that I think some people might be lucky to learn, and some people are not fortunate enough to go through the experience, right?
Yeah. Question on what you said.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think your parents, like you said you were growing up, you were playing with the girls,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
wanted you to play with the guys?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is specifically?
Well, is from an African family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which countries?
I'm from Nigeria. Right? My parents are Nigerians. So, but the understanding of a guy, you know, being
They thought maybe, let's make sure he's not gay.
yes. So for them, and it starts with how they grew up, right? Because how they grew up, that is just frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
So for them, not even realizing or understanding why they were against it, they were just automatically against it, and not knowing the impact it's making in your kid or whatever the person is, right? So for them, it's a no-no for us, so it's a no-no for you. right? And not knowing that could affect you, right? So I think for them, they were just afraid of the unknown. I think that's what it is.
But I feel like it's a bit different where I'm from. So, Grenada.
Okay.
It's not really, they don't know where it came from. They use religion as an excuse.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So
It's
they
like-
hide behind religion, I see.
Yeah. And those countries are like super religious, so they bash back hard on it. So.
Well, I think that the gay issue, which I'm glad you brought up, is really interesting because a lot of, not just like from Grenada, from Nigeria, African countries, North America, like the black community as a whole, like is very religious.
Yes.
Yeah.
And has a very kind of, for as progressive as it can be in certain areas, like when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to like relation with queer community, like it's still very, very slow in terms of progressing to that point, and a lot of that comes from black men. This dad, he made a post about his children, and he said he would not cuddle with his son because that's not what like he's supposed to be a man, like he's raised to be a man. And I'm like, what does that have to do with like what, like it's, where does this need to police
from?
making sure our young black men are not gay, like where does that need come from like
I'm gonna say this though, and this is not quite the answer, but I think a lot of men in general have no idea why they feel that way. Like just in general, just because of, this is why I grew up knowing. I don't think anyone has, not anyone, but I don't think a lot of black men have a definition. If you ask any guy, just why do you feel this way? I don't know, just not right. That's what they're gonna tell you. Right? That's the answer they're gonna give you. Or let's say some gay guys saying hi to them or whatever. They get offended right away. Why are you getting offended? Right? And it might be some kind of a mental
Condition.
upset.
Yeah.
Just that black men, I get it, over time, the course of history, we've been fighting over obstacles, right? We've been having to get over something. Like slavery was one of them, right? If you want to get a job, let's say you're more qualified for a job, and the white man's more qualified for a job, not qualified as you are, well, the white man most likely will get the job before you are, and that's another obstacle you got to climb over, right? We don't complain about things. What we do is, this is a struggle we got to get over, right? But then I think, we don't ever want to show a sign of weakness, right? And that's a black mentality. No matter what it is, we can get over it. There was a video, I think it was a Black Panther video I was watching, the Panthers, right? The activists, I was watching a video, and one of them he said something like, well, if like a white person would just get upset over something and go shoot up a school, but this happens to us every day. Like, the cops come to the hood and then they shoot up. You can see a kid get shot. What do? We should be traumatized about that, right? But what do? We don't like showing our emotions. So then, being gay, right? That's you showing all kinds of emotion, right? As you're doing something, right? You're doing all that stuff, but that puts you in a position of being something that we don't want to represent, which is.
I get what you're saying.
That's a theory.
I get what you're saying, but like my worry is that sometimes it becomes kind of violent in a sense where, like, I remember there's this fighter, I forget, like he was talking about if a gay man ever came up to him, like he would shoot him or something like that. Like, and this was like a really prominent
but that's my question
black fighter, and I'm wondering, like, why
do we feel that?
Where does this like
Here's the
inner
thing.
hatred?
Here's the
Yeah,
thing.
go ahead.
Here's the thing. I think two things. One, men afraid of being gay. This goes way beyond slavery.
It goes beyond that. Yes.
And the second thing, and this is something that happens in everyone's household that we don't talk about, is 1 out of every 3 children in North America do get molested, and it usually happens at home. And it usually happens with grown men and young boys.
Yes.
So it goes a lot like deeper than what we think, right? It goes into our DNA from decades and decades and decades of conditioning, but it also happens in our home, right? And especially in big families.
So you think there's trauma that is there?
Most definitely, because it happens with guys and with girls.
Yeah.
Right? So it's one of the things where if you really, really want to discuss it, I was reading a book called Don't Call It Love it's like a sex addiction book, and it shed light on a lot of things like this, right? Because subconsciously, when you grow up and you've gone through a trauma, your brain might forget it.
Absolutely.
Details
But
of
it's
it.
somewhere hidden.
But you react out in that same way.
I think it's a mixture of everything. So, like, for example, the religion, the
It's not
the
accepting
trauma,
it. Yes, that too. Yeah.
the trauma,
Yeah.
which passed on, social conditioning, the TV, the media, all of that
Combined together.
combined together.
Yeah, and the history. Yes.
Yeah.
Next question that I want to ask is that what is unique about being a black man? And I'm framing that in the context.
There's a whole lot of
No, hold on. Let me ask. No, I know. I know where you're about to go. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what are the unique struggles? Not like unique struggles. So unique struggles. Like I want to think about being a black man in. Of course, we're here. Like you can think about where we are, North America, Western.
Just Western world.
Sphere. Like, what are the unique struggles that come with being a black man?
Just being perceived as like a dangerous threat. Like no matter what you are doing, no matter what setting you're in, like I don't think there's ever been a time where I'm not surrounded by black people, where I feel totally comfortable, where I feel like the person sitting across from me or the lady looking at me from over there is not thinking like, oh, what's he gonna do? Like, am I safe? And I'm like, it's crazy, like just little microaggressions. You know, I'll be sitting in the SkyTrain, I walk in, I got my backpack on. All eyes on you. Yeah, all eyes on me. I sit down, I carry my backpack, the train's packed. People will be looking to seat right here, and they just like, they'll go stand somewhere else.
Just
Like,
because
oh,
you're right there.
Do you want to take my seat? Then they'll sit.
Yeah.
If I get up, they'll sit. But if I'm sitting there, they're just gonna look at the seat and keep walking.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah, they would rather stand.
they sit beside me. And it's like, I mean, we're all used to it, right? We all get used to it.
What's up with that?
It's just, like, we're all used to it, but like sometimes I just think, I'm like, damn, like, that's really my life.
And I was trying to build up on what you were saying, because you said going into a place and just feeling like a threat.
Yeah.
Bro, the shit, like, honestly, me personally, I haven't felt too many occurrences of that, but whenever I have felt that, it's like, especially when I'm in a group with my homies.
Yeah.
Me, Emmy, and like a couple of our other homies just the other day, we went out to dinner at this restaurant. And after the dinner, we were just chilling, like right by my car. Like you could tell that it was my car, you know what I mean? We were all just standing around it and we were just chilling, having a conversation. This police rolled by, and she like
Skipped everyone else.
She slowed down, you know what I mean? Specifically when like she was around us, you know what I mean? Then she like cruised around the lot. It's a pretty big lot. Cruised around it, skipped over like everybody else.
That was standing around. And
She came right back to where she started. She slowed down a little bit. Then she's like, oh man, these guys look like they're up to something. Then she like rolls her window down. She's like, hey guys, what's going on here? And we're like, what? I'm like, oh, like, we're just chilling. That's what I'm saying. Yo, we're all chilling, just like laughing, joking
Just laughing,
around.
just happy.
Like, I would understand if we were like smoking a joint or
Or doing,
something.
you know.
You know what I mean? Something that just looked off, but we're just standing, having a conversation, laughs, taking pictures and stuff. And then
You never heard of black man?
No,
and she's like, yo, what's going on here? Like, how do you even answer that? Like,
What did you tell her?
we just like, oh, like, we're just hanging out. Like,
But
we
then-
just have some dinner and we're
then that's the
just
kicker,
chilling
though.
before we leave. Like,
Because you have to always be on your best behavior. Whenever they come around, you don't want to give them a reason. Because if you give them a reason, they don't need a reason. The only reason they need is just this.
Yep.
That's the only reason.
But I even want to I want to take it even bigger. Like in terms of our place in society, like as black men. We talk about being a provider. We mentioned that earlier, like for black families, for like our communities and stuff like that. Are there certain like systemic or like are there certain things in our way of being those providers to the extent that we want to be or we need to be? And if there are, and they're preventing us, what effect do you think what effect is that having on us?
The hardest part, at least for me, as a black man, is having your own kind look at you a certain way.
Oh, facts.
You know, that's facts.
What do you mean your own kind? What?
Black people as well.
Yeah.
Right? We are, and I tell you this with a fact, and we are the only race that don't stand by each other.
That's not true.
Absolutely, we are.
We're one of them.
For me, if you see,
Like our rate of doing that is a little
it's a little bit higher.
We're the worst, yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to that.
We really don't stand behind each other.
No, but
Like,
yeah, I'm interested.
And what I mean, there's tons of things, there's tons of examples. Like let's say, for example, if you see a black guy that's just a local artist, not really made it, you know, maybe the music is good, but maybe but as black, let's say we go to the show or whatever it is, instead of us supporting that person, as a black person trying to make it out of this tough life, instead of us supporting that person, we're like, you ain't nice. We hate on
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why are we hating on a black person?
You get mad that you gotta pay for a ticket.
They want to get it for free.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Shit like that.
some of you probably go to SFU, right?
SFU.
SFU.
Yeah.
There's a huge Asian community there, right?
Yeah.
They're all like this. They're all like sit together.
Bro, Chinatown is a fucking embodiment of their unity.
Yes, they're all together.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, black people, we don't know how powerful we are as individuals.
Yeah.
Like I mean, educationally, when we try to get education, we're extremely smart. Street smart, we have it. Entertainment, we like top notch. Like a black person will make something out of nothing at any given time, at any given moment, right? And that being said, I have no idea why we can't stand behind each other.
I think for me is again like goes into like in our minds, like in a lot of our heads, like we feel like there are only like a few things that we can have. Like, you know what I mean? We only have our dominance over women. We can only have like riches if we get into entertainment or athletics or like this industry or that industry. So like I feel like a big reason why we don't support each other is like if you do something and you become like a great success in my mind, you just take in like one of the very few spots that are available for me to have success. You know what I mean? Because like we're under the impression like there are only a few things for us.
But then that's my point. That if a white person gets into that, it's okay.
Because
I'm not gonna let my brother get in there.
Exactly, because like white people don't grow up with that like feeling of like they're restricted to only a few things. Like they think like they
But that's
feel
what I'm
like the
saying.
whole world's yours, but we
But
feel
that should
we have a
that should
few
be more of a motivation for you to try to get your brother in there.
It should be.
Because
Exactly.
it's a limited resource, right?
Yeah.
But then if you have multiple chances of getting into something, right?
Yeah.
Then that would make you want to struggle to be number one.
I agree with you. That's how it should be. But like for a lot of people, like they're still like in that mindset of like there's only a few things.
Shouldn't our obstacle that we know with every single person in here is faced every single day should not be a supporting cast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it should.
It should.
Yeah,
Right? It should.
there's a way things should happen, and there's a way things happen.
Because
it's like
I'm looking at him right now. I'm looking at every single person in this room. I'm like, man, you've gone through every single thing I've been through.
Yeah,
Like
no, I feel it.
you've been stopped by a cop, asked for ID for no reason.
Yeah.
You've been stopped walking while black, driving while black, just helping a white lady while black. You've been stopped at every given moment. Like I can name like ridiculous stuff, and every single person has gone through that. That understanding, that concept should not be a backbone for you to be like, no, I got my brother's back. You ain't got, I got you.